Hello, everybody. Welcome to the back of Mad Dog's Roadhouse video podcast. Coming to you live from down here in the Bug Barn Banjo Studio and Podcast Pavilion here in the basement on Florence Avenue. Uh, Thought I'd get out a little bonus content today because it was on my mind while I was cooking this morning. I picked up some nice eggplants. Saw the first eggplants today that I've seen down at the market. They're little, and I thought they'd be nice to use. I should have bought a few more for what I'm going to use, but they're going to work just fine. And what I'm going to use them for is I'm going to make some eggplant parmesan. Eggplant parm is one of the greatest things, one of the greatest Italian American, kind of Americanized Italian dishes that there is. The classic old school red and white oilcloth checkered tablecloth with the candle and the old Chianti bottle sitting on the table method involves slicing eggplant, breading it. Not hard to do. You really don't need a recipe for this, but you need to know the fundamentals. But you're going to bread that in. I like to use panko breadcrumbs. You want to dip the eggplant in flour, then you're going to dip it in egg wash, then you're going to dip it in the breadcrumbs. Ideally, some breadcrumbs seasoned with a little salt, something a little spicy. I like it a little spicy and everything, and some Parmesan cheese. So you basically got kind of a cheese-ized breading, amped up with a little parm. By the way, great fresh parm. You can buy parm at Costco or everywhere. Don't buy pre-grated stuff. Just go buy a microplane grater or use the small holes on your box grater. You'll be much happier with yourself, and so will everybody else that's going to eat your food. Those little extra things, folks, make a huge impact on your food. And then you fry that. You're going to need a shitload more oil than you think you are going to need, but you're just going to kind of shallow fry that. About yay so much oil. You just want it. You don't need to drop them in something that's fully covered. You're going to have to turn them, but you're going to get those nice and golden brown, crispy and delicious. And then you're going to set them aside, usually on sheet pans, with a little brown paper bag underneath. That works really good because you're going to want to absorb up some of that fat that's off them. You want to cook them hot enough so they don't insta-sear, but you want a clean enough fry that leaves a lot of oil off of it, because when at the right temperature, frying things seals things in and leaves the oil behind. If you're a little too cool, it's going to soak it up. You're basically making a pretty lame confit, and that's how you get it all yick. Anyway, so you're going to get all of that eggplant fried, and then you're going to layer it into a baking dish with some good marinara, ideally one you've made. If not, use a good one. By the way, Rayo's is a really good one. There's no sugar in that, so if you're following kind of the keto or trying to cut down on your sugars, that's a great choice. And if you like things that taste good, it's a great choice. You want to really blow your socks off sometime. Next time you're at the grocery store, walk down the pasta aisle and start pulling those regular commercial spaghetti sauce, pasta sauces, whatever they call them, off the shelf, and read the ingredients. And look at how much sugar is in your average jar of tomato sauce. It's baffling. And here's the gig, folks. You don't need it. It's just that that's the way the mass American flavor profile works, that it doesn't taste right anymore unless it has a butt ton of sugar in it. And it doesn't have to be that way. Then go grab a bottle of the Rayo's. Sure, it's more expensive, but read the back of it. There's no added sugar in there. It's just the tomatoes, the oil, and the spices, and it's very good. If you're going to make it at home, that's basically how you're going to do it. Some folks put a little bit of sugar in, just a little bit, just to kind of cut some of the acidy edge, cut some of the sharpness off. You're not really getting rid of the acid, but you're kind of changing it, and you're going to knock part of the kind of the real sharp edge off some of those sauces. Look, I like sharp edges on my sauces. I'm kind of a sharp edge guy, so it's fine. Anyway, you're going to layer that in. You're going to layer it in with some cheese. Don't use that fresh Parmesan. Look, it's really pretty and stuff, but it's going to get really runny because there's a lot of liquid in there. Go ahead and buy that dry part skim and just shred it. Again, don't buy the pre-shredded stuff. That stuff sucks. It's mixed with God knows what, and it doesn't melt for crap. Just grate it. You're going to be happier. Again, it's the little things that matter. Also, you're going to want to get a little bit of you're going to layer that in with sauce. Basically, you're kind of making almost a lasagna. You're going to layer that up, only instead of pasta noodles, you're going to use that fried eggplant. and then you're just going to bake it until it's all melty and gooey and delicious. Let it cool a little bit because it's going to be roughly the temperature of the sun when you take it out of the oven. You're going to give it, I don't know, 40 minutes. Just watch it, 350. Put it in there. Keep an eye on it. You're going to know when it looks right. It's going to get really melty. It's going to be bubbly, and it's going to look great. If you want the top brown a little bit, run it under the broiler. But that's what you're going to do. And let it cool a little bit. Let it firm up a little bit, and then you scoop that out. You get some garlic bread, and you just go to town on it. And you're going to want to make sure that you've got a surface to lay down on when you get done. But there's another way to make eggplant parm that I came upon a number of years ago. And part of this story is about where I find inspiration for some of my crazier ideas. And this was certainly one of them. I like to read cooking magazines. I like to read good writing about cooking. Back here in the library is a copy of MFK Fisher's writings, a collection of her works. MFK Fisher was a columnist for Gourmet way back in the day, and she's just a marvelous writer, and a good friend of mine gave that to me, and I'm honored to have it. It's really a treasure, and I like to dig it out because there's all kinds of inspiration in there. When I first started getting into cooking magazines, which was way back in law school, inspired by some friends of mine in Chicago, my good friend Ann Turner, and I spent summers with her and Steve in Chicago, and we had all kinds of crazy adventures. But Ann was a great cook, and she subscribed to Gourmet, and I liked looking at it all the time. And when I got back to school after whenever, I decided there was no good reasons why I didn't have a subscription to this, and I think I asked for it for my birthday or Christmas or something, and I got it. And it's just, I kept copies of those for years. There was nothing like Old Gourmet magazine before they went downhill and then went out of business and quit printing. So there was a food writer named Lori Colwyn who was writing at the time, and Lori would write a page about a column really about a lot of things, usually about food. She wrote a marvelous column about roasting a chicken, and I used to use that was my original roast chicken recipe was hers. It was kind of low and slow in a pan in the oven with vegetables and a little stock, and by God, it works. It was just delicious, and yet you had really great dinner with that. But the story is really what got me to make that. Lori, to give you an idea what kind of a person Lori Colwyn was, is Lori Colwyn wrote a year's worth of her column for Gourmet and turned them in. And then she died. So about a year's worth of Lori's last columns were published posthumously. And she's just a great writer. I mean, you just got inspiration from them. One of the other magazines I get is Food and Wine. I still get the magazines. It's kind of tough to keep track of the subscriptions, but Mrs. Mad Dog does that for me, generally. And I love reading those because I like looking at the pictures. There's something about that's not the same as looking at things online. I mean, online's great because you can grab it and categorize it and save it, and there's all kinds of different apps to save the recipes, and I do that when I find them. And of course, I've got online subscriptions to all this nonsense too. But Food and Wine has great articles every once in a while. There's times where I thought this is crazy, but sometimes it just runs really good. And this one it really did. And I'm pretty sure, yeah, it was Food and Wine. So there was a story in there once, and I can't remember the name of the person who wrote it, but it was a food writer. And when he was back in college, and we've all been that age, or maybe you're getting to be that age, or you are that age where you're starting to get your life organized, and that means you're finding somebody that you're probably going to settle down with. And he had met a nice Italian girl on the East Coast, and her parents were Italian. She was a first generation American. Her parents had literally immigrated at some point, probably during the late 50s or the 60s. So they weren't Italian American, they were Italian. And, worked hard, did things, but man, could they cook. And the entire story was about putting tomatoes in jars. It was how, he knew he was getting in good with these folks when they asked him to help put the tomatoes in the jars. And this was a huge production. These were all grown, so, we're talking just a ton of tomatoes. And this is what you're thinking. It's outside, it's near industrial production. It takes an entire day, lots of jars, lots of hot water, lots of hard work. But at the end of that, they made eggplant parm, and it was one that Mom had made, and it was her version of it. And it's really pretty simple, no breading involved, and this is just perfect for summer. So what it is first of all, you need the tomato sauce, and by God, I made that, and I'll tell you that story in just a minute. Put a pin in that. But you got a homemade tomato sauce that's kind of a light, summery marinara. You slice the eggplant horizontally, so you've got these long planks, and you're going to want to grill it just a little bit. You're not going to char it off. You're not going to smear it with oil, but you're going to take these planks and you're going to put some color on them on the grill, ideally over hardwood charcoal, and you're going to get that really tasty kind of grilly flavor with them. Then you layer that in with the sauce. You layer it in with not a ton of cheese whatsoever, but you're going to use some parm, maybe some pecorino, and a little again of that part skim, that dry grated mozz, and tear up a few leaves of basil as you're going along, and you're going to layer this in, and then you're just going to bake the hell out of it. You're going to get this in a skillet, or you're going to get it in a nice flat dish. I've been known to use my big all-clad saute pan. Works wonderfully. Don't grab the handle by your bare hand just because it looks like the pan on the stove. It's not going to work the same. You're going to end up with one of those brands in your hand like that Nazi guy on Raiders of the Lost Ark. Don't grab the pan when it's like that. And anyway, so there's no breading in it, and you've got that great tomato sauce and a little bit of cheese. And again, if you got just a little bit of bread, and you don't even have to make garlic bread, but if you got just a little bit of bread, you're going to absolutely be licking the sauce off the plate and begging for more of this stuff. It is that good. Eggplant is a member of the nightshade family, as is tomatoes. They've got that same smell. You know that funky smell of fresh tomato plants and the tomato on the vine. It's got kind of that almost soury sort of smell to it it's just intoxicating. Well, that's the smell of nightshade. And if you know anything about nightshade, it's also called belladonna. And if you've got belladonna in your yard and it's going to produce some berries, don't eat those. That's why you don't eat green salads out of tomato greens. It's not good for you. But things that grow together go together, and tomatoes and eggplant go together like, well, tomatoes and eggplant. That's why they're just so good. And I hope you try this recipe. I'm going to put a link in the story so that you can look this up. Now, getting back to the sauce, the whole story of the jars was one of the most romantic things I've ever read. And by God, I mean, it was good enough that I fell in love with it. I had the whole idea. I wanted to be there. I wanted to do this. Well, sure enough, there's a recipe in that. You need two components of tomatoes to make this sauce. One is known as pomodoro passata. And what that basically is, no kidding, is tomato sauce. It's tomato sauce. Then you're going to need pomodoro pelati, and that is the filleted or the whole tomatoes, generally sliced ones that are in their juice. And you're going to cook these together. You'll find the sauce recipe. This is pretty old school. You literally fry a diced up onion in a cup of olive oil. Now, before that freaks you out, just do it. You get it in a tall pan. You're going to make this all in one pan, but you're going to put that in there. Now, I had to make the passata because I wasn't smart enough to think, well, maybe somebody's got this. And by the way, it's just really good tomato sauce. But you need a quart of it, which is kind of a lot. And I thought, well, what the hell? We'll make this. How bad can it be? Right. So step one, get yourself 50 pounds of plum tomatoes. Ideally, probably San Marzanos if you can get them, which you probably can't, and you can find knockoffs of them. But San Marzano tomatoes are one of those things that are definitely of the place. They grow in Italy and places like Sicily, and it's the volcanic soil. It's the taste of the place. You can take the same thing out of the place, and it's just not quite the same, but very, very good. Yeah, so you're going to get those. So step one, where do you get 50 friggin' pounds of tomatoes? Well, you got a guy is what you got. And I don't even remember how this worked, but a friend of mine who's part of a restaurant ownership group hooked me up. I think for maybe 20 some bucks, I walked out of I walked out of the back of one of the establishments with 2 cases of plum tomatoes. I cannot overemphasize the quantity of tomatoes we're dealing with. This is a ton, and when you buy them commercially like that, they're purposely picked a little hard. I want them to soften up just a little bit, but at some point it was go or no go. So I started this one evening thinking, well, how bad can this be? Because basically all you're going to do is clean those up, and you're going to cut them in half or quarters, just basically into chunks. Get them in a really big pot. And you're going to need a really, really, really big pot for 50 pounds of cut up plum tomatoes. You're going to need a bigger pot than you think. And that was an adventure in and of itself. But finally, get all the stinking things in one pot, and you're just going to salt them, and you're going to turn on the heat, and you're going to start working these suckers down into softnessville. And you're just going to cook them and cook them and cook them and cook them until the liquid comes out of them. The heat will drive the liquid out, and they're going to get all soft and gooey. Yeah, but what about all those peels and those seeds, Mad Dog? Well, no problem. I have my stepmother Karen years and years and years ago bought a tomato cedar mill kind of thing from Williams Sonoma because it was in the catalog. It's bright Ferrari red. It's just cooler than cool. Thinking that, well, this is great. In the catalog, this thing was like $25. Try and buy anything for $25 from Williams Sonoma anymore. Actually, they don't sell anything to cook with. They sell lifestyles. Be that as it may, this thing, it's Italian made. It's really a pretty ingenious little thing. But you put tomatoes in the top, and stuff comes out the front. You turn the thing, and what it does is a little mill runs in there, and it pushes the tomatoes and the skin and the seeds up against this thing and plops them out one chute off to the side to dispose of them, and the rest of it goes into your dish. So what you have is kind of this pulpy tomato juice. They advertise that you can use this thing for salsas or for whatever. Bullshit. It turns tomatoes into thin pulpy tomato juice. So that's what you're going to get. You're not going to make sauce out of this, but you're going to need this to make tomato sauce. I use this thing all the time for just that. So I run 50 pounds of mushed up tomatoes through this thing. It's probably now, oh, God knows, I don't know, 9:30, maybe 10 o'clock, because now we're in it and there's no stopping. So get that all done. Step 2, take what you've got left of your 50 pounds that's now basically compost, which is the peels and the seeds. This thing's remarkably efficient. And then this pulpy juice that, oh, by the way, you need to reduce the hell out of that, because you're not going to just can that. You're going to have kind of really loose tomato juice. So you've got to reduce that down to, you can read the recipe, but I don't know, maybe half. That takes a while. That takes a while. So got it down to that, and finally I've got left. I'm down to maybe 8 quarts of this stuff, maybe. I know I ran off 2 loads of jars, so that's at least 6. Yeah, I maybe had 8, maybe 10 quarts of this stuff, because obviously you're going to get it down to a certain point, and then you're going to put it into your clean hot mason jars, and then you're going to process it. I think I finished that project just shy of 3 in the morning. I've got a quart of that left, and by God, I'm pretty proud of it. And as bad as this story sounds, it's starting to sound like a good idea again. I've got to figure out where to lay my hands on 50 pounds of plum tomatoes. I've got an idea. Maybe. We'll have to see how it goes. There's a potential source out there, and you probably could get by with 25, but if you're going to do it, you got to do it. And I've got some other equipment that may help. This may involve the turkey fryer crawfish boiler thingy and we may just stand outside and dick around with this to get it down to where I'm going to need it. And we're going to start a lot earlier in the day. That's for damn sure. And then you just buy you can buy the Pilati at the store. You can actually buy Passata at the store. They have it. Sorry to say, they have it. So if you totally want to cheat this, you can go get the components. Although if you wanted to use a little Rayo's, I'm not going to tell anybody if you don't. It would work. I grilled my eggplant today. It was actually hot enough on the deck that I actually had to put my flip flop shoes on. It was that hot. I'm getting old and soft, folks. So we're going to go ahead and get that stuff going. I've got that browned off. That's probably going to be dinner Monday. I've got my eyes on a meatloaf for Sunday, and that's going to be a lot of fun. So that's kind of where I get the inspo, and I'm going to put the link down here in the comments so that you can see. You can go find that recipe, and I hope you try it sometime. Even if you cheat, I hope you try it, 'cause it's totally worth it. And if you don't think you like eggplant, this is a damn good place to start, because I bet it'll change your mind. I bet it will. Okay, that's the bonus content. I'm going to go take a shower and go hang out with the cool kids for a little bit. Everybody have a great day. Play a train song and grow some tomatoes.